Hello, creatives. Today's April the 7th, 2022, and a rainy day in beautiful Central Florida. I'm 5 miles away from Cape Canaveral, where the rockets take off. And this drawing here is very reflective of what happens with an artist and a model. The model becomes the muse. The artist gets inspired by the muse, very similar to rocket fuel. When the inspiration is high, the creativity is high. When the inspiration is low, the creativity is low. Very reflective to how we relate in relationships. And when I mean creatives, and this is an exercise on Carl Gustav Jung, utilizing active imagination. On the Red Book, where if we concentrate helps to grow the mind, focus on a dream, let the unconscious speak, generate an artifact on paper, analyze a message and practice. The idea of practicing on a daily basis, anything we do in life, is the more we practice, logically, the better we get at it. The more we practice the ability to see inside of us, the more we have the ability to see outside of us. If we're able to see within through methodologies like psychoanalysis, the methodology of creativity, the methodology of processing pain, distress, disappointments in life, and making something out of them. When you make something out of pain, creatively wise, that's where altruism kicks in, because the way that we learn is through pain, right? We learn through pain, and that's how we become woke. We become aware based on problems that we've overcome in life and how we've dealt with. I got headphones on, so I can't not listen to myself. But the reality is how we become aware of how we feel, how we deal with our emotions, how resilient we are in pain. And then we try to make something out of it and maybe share it with somebody, help somebody, and that's the function of altruism. And creativity brings out the best in us, because the creative forces, when we create something, we want to share it with somebody. Maybe a potato that you're baking, you're putting stuff on it. Maybe a pie, maybe a song that you're writing, maybe a poem, maybe a letter that you're writing for someone and you want to share it with somebody else, or a book, or anything. Or in this case, we're doing a drawing on creative imagination. The focus of these drawings are basically mirror image on the sensibility of 20th century artists like Pablo Picasso, Amadeo Modigliani, Italian guy that lived in Paris, died at 35. He was a drug addict. He was a sex addict. But most important, he was addicted to love. He was a very, very emotional, addicted to love with women, and those women became his muses and his models, and he would paint them. And then we have, later on in the 20th century, we have an artist that's probably one of the best artists, gay artist, Francis Bacon, British artist Francis Bacon, who painted incredible portraits on his lovers. And according to Bacon, one of the hardest things in life for him was relationships, and they were so painful for Bacon, the relationship he had with a model, that he would go so inside of himself that he's one of the fathers of something that I utilize in the pictorial, which is quantum deformation, that you go so deep inside of yourself that you actually go into the black hole of yourself, and you come in through the other side into the white hole, and you see the incredible luminosity of life and the miracle of life, and you're able to create an artifact. You're able to create something to sublimate the pain and say, not even say, there's no saying. You can hang it on a wall, or you can show it for what it is. Okay. Now, this portrait is about a model that it's the relationship between the model and how frontal she is. Check the pencil. Look at her eyes. How frontal she is. Look at his eyes. Looking this way. Going out this way. Look how frontal. Look at the displacement that's going on here, where there's no interconnection. She's on the smartphone. She's touching her pubic area. She's butt naked, her breast. Beautiful curves and very sensual. The hair goes this way, the eyes are open. There's boots here. She's heading this way. She's heading this way, right? Out this way, heading this way. Now, relationships, especially relationships that are modern, where a lot of people spend tremendous amount of time on their phones, on their smartphones, always creating what the artist is experiencing here, fog. So I started a drawing here. For some reason, I started here. You see what I'm doing with the pencil here? And this is creating some sort of darkness. In Italiano, when you do this in drawing or painting, light and dark, it's called chiaroscuro, meaning light and dark. So I started more with dark. And then I went here and I started to create, without even looking, just create like eyeballs. And these are not really supposed to look like anybody. They're symbolic. What they're trying to do is, what these drawings do, they situate symbolically an energy that's reflective with a certain space-time, a certain feeling, and a certain reality. And the reality is timeless. You can be with somebody for 7 years, for 15 years, for 7 months, and you could start going back. When did this fogginess, fog, started happening? Did it start happening because the model's on the phone? And the artist is saying, she's no longer interested in posing for me. She's not interested in giving me the necessary energies I need to be inspired by her to create a possible masterpiece like a Picasso or Francis Bacon. Because she knows she has the key to unlock the doors of inspiration for the artist. The moment she disconnects and pushes out, goes this way, pushes out, no longer is interconnecting. And the artist needs this connection because the artist is all based on interconnecting a certain luminosity to be able to create a masterpiece. So when the person, let's say the model, is out, the artist is pushed down, and goes inside. Now, the reason, and I try to do something a little bit different here, because I try to bring in the dynamics of creativity and the dynamics between artist and model and the dynamics between couples that if we can analyze when fog is happening, and like Carl Jung says, if you tap into your subconscious mind, interconnected with your conscious mind, right? Subconscious mind interconnected with the conscious mind, you have the collective, right? The collective, conscious, subconscious, collective. Once you trigger the anima, the animus, you do shadow work. Then you start navigating all this together with time, the oceans of the collective unconscious. So the unconscious starts speaking in terms of symbol and what? Archetypes. The archetype is down here. So when a person is a narcissist, a person is full of herself or himself, they go back to ego. They're in ego. Ego here. So when you go to ego, what do? You paralyze the collective unconscious. You paralyze all this stuff. Because in order to really understand the self, in order to do a portrait, in order to do a painting, a drawing, where the artist and the model, you have to see it from the self-portrait. You have to see the self. How do you see the world? How do you see yourself? How do you interconnect with your desires? It's right here. And in terms of creativity is highly feminine. The act of creativity is a feminine energy. And the execution of it has the masculine, the masculine energy, where you're trying to make something out of the feminine energy. Right? Adam and Eve, the apple. You're trying to make something out of the apple. You're trying to make what? Maybe a red Ferrari. Maybe you're trying to create something from the inspiration of the apple. So there is in creativity, there is the juxtaposition of the anima and the animas working in a very symmetrical way. When this happens, that the person is outside, going out, on the phone, being what Martin Heidegger would say, existentially, being Dasein, being an exterior, going outside, that person is completely in the material world, because the same way she provides with this key, she objectifies herself as an object in the desire of the artist. She goes out there as an object, and that's how she becomes part of this materialistic world. Not materialistic world because she might have an expensive watch or an expensive boots. No, materialistic because she is an object of desire in the midst of the world, to be able to project the same things she projects on the artist, to project outside with third parties, lovers, whatever, secret admirers, where she has to be validated. Now, he has the key, the same key that they share. She might have a different motive with the key, or they do have a different motive. Her motive is to inspire the artist to validate her beauty, her sexuality, right? To validate the artist, right? I mean, the artist has the same key to validate her. Okay, so let me go back to the key. She has the key to validate the artist with inspiration, and the artist has the same key. They share the same key in the pictorial to validate her being. Not only that, he has the power that once he draws her or paints her, he validates her forming content and eternalizes her for the history of this. How long a drawing will last, a painting, a Pablo Picasso painting, or Modigliani painting in a museum, for the eternity of the museum. So the model gets eternalized. When that happens, what happens? Being that you're going to be eternalized, ego. This is what happens when we go outside and we get validated by other people, that we can manipulate, that she can manipulate, or he can manipulate, right? they validate you, they put you in ego, and you think that you are being immortalized in the pictorial of anybody that you're dealing with. Because at the end of the day, what we project in the midst of the world is a pictorial. We project a painting. We are projection. We are a drawing in projection. That's why we dress a certain way. That's why we speak a certain way. That's why we formulate our social media based on our own projections, and we hope that that will project to others. Okay? Now, something really interesting happens here for the sake of art. When the model goes out, he feels an abandonment, and it can happen vice versa. But when she goes out, he feels an abandonment. Now, an artist is trained to go in here, create a boundary, go inside, sublimate his pain, make a painting that he knows because of the pain, and the darkness of the fog will create probably a very powerful pictorial because he's projecting, he's sublimating into the artwork, knowing that that's something that he can give back and be validated through the key that Carl Jung talks about in the Red Book, where the Chilidrón is a mystic with wings on it, where he has like 7 keys. Each key opens a certain specific lock. The artist knows that he can open the lock to sublimation, but open the lock to abundance. And if he doesn't have it with his muse, he can go in and create another muse and sublimate her. Now, what happens when she finds out or becomes aware that he went inside to his interior, created a masterpiece? Now he's done with her, and he goes to another lover, another muse. Happens in life all the time. That's why it's so important to understand the power of creativity, because if we're able to see things for what they are, a narcissist, an entitlement, a person that leaves us cold, and we can go inside and we can recover ourselves by being isolated, by being able to process the pain and create an artifact and do something creative that creates complete altruism, that we can show it and we can help others people out. We're unleashing the key to continue to open doors of perception and doors of possibilities, and being open to all possibilities and close to nothing. We have the special key that unlocks all possibilities through the power of creativity. Thank you.